In this lesson, we'll learn about the Paint Jiggle Weights tool. If we were to hit play in this scene, what we'll see is that a jiggle deformer has been applied to a few of the vertices underneath the character's jaw. We could also spot some areas that will need to be refined, and this is what we can use the Paint Jiggle Weights tool for. Because some sections where we're getting the jiggle, we want to keep that result. However, where we're getting the interpenetration, that's where we'll want to tweak. So this is going to be a great tool to use to get this type of work done in no time. So to get started, I'll select the character's mesh and head over to Edit Deformers and choose the Paint Jiggle Weights tool, found right above the Paint Wire Weights tool. Let's go ahead and take a look at the options. That way we're using the settings we need to work with. And I'll reset this tool at the top so your settings match mine. So we can set our artisan brush radius at the top, we can set our opacity, and to keep in mind as we adjust the opacity of the brush, no matter what our value is set to, let's say in this case 1 or 100%, still the opacity will affect how much we actually paint on that vertex. Then we can set a brush profile. I typically like to use the softer brush or the harder brush. The harder brush would be great for blocking in weight. So you can see how our weight looks very blocky right now. There's nothing really smooth. Well, the hard brush would be great for that. However, with the smooth brush, we can use that to kind of smooth out the result of our harsh jiggle. So I'm going to keep this set to the default brush, soft. And then underneath our paint attributes, this is where we can choose what jiggle deformer we like to paint to. We're only working with one deformer on this mesh, so that's what's going to be automatically loaded in. Now underneath we have our paint operation. In this case, I think replace is going to be the best choice for us, simply because with replace, whatever we set in our value field, that's how much weight is going to be placed on the vertex we paint over. So for instance, if we were to set this value to, let's say, 0.6, and we start to paint, well, all of those vertices we paint over will have 60% control by the jiggle deformer. Now, if we were to use something like add, we can continue to add on top, add weight on top of what we are painting. If we were to set this to a negative value, we would then start to replace or remove weight, that is. Another choice we have, of course, is smooth. But again, we're going to go ahead and work with replace. I'd like to use that because we can get precise values that way. I'll now set the value parameter to 0.6. Now we could start to paint on this outer section that's being controlled by the jiggle. And my mentality behind this is, well, the skin that should not be controlled as much, well, that should receive lesser weight naturally. And then as we start to get closer to the looser skin, well, we'll want that section to be fully controlled by the jiggle. So we'll start with 0.6 and we'll just go ahead and paint 1/2. That way we can compare and contrast the two sides. So again, as we get closer to the section that gets looser, we won't want to paint on those components. So that'll take care of those edges. Let's go ahead and switch this value to 0.7. And we'll go ahead and work on the next few edges. Okay, great. So at this point, let's go ahead and hit play and see what we get. All right, beautiful. So in no time at all, we have corrected the left side of the character's mouth. And taking a look at both sides, you can see that left side is much better. And notice we were able to do that in hardly any time. So that's a look at the Paint Jiggle Weights tool. Again, it's a great way to get in and refine your weights, a more interactive way than working with, let's say, the component editor.